Hi, I've been getting quite obsessed recently with American food, and that could be largely because I'm a big fat pig, but also because it's quite interesting to try some of these foods, specifically because I never have, and also to bring my opinion of them as a foreigner to your attention. But today, I thought I'd just sort of dabble in Quizland once again to see just how much I know about American cuisine. And I was just Googling around on the internet, as one does, and I found this quiz. So without further ado, let's get going. Okay, question one. Where and when was the summer favorite lobster roll invented? Lobster, I believe, quite prominent on the East Coast. Indeed, the options down here. Maine in 1890. Cape Cod, Massachusetts, 1621, Connecticut, 1929. I think instinctively you're probably thinking Cape Cod there, aren't you? Just because of its connotations with fishing and the fishing industry and all of that. Maine as well. I know lobster's quite popular there. I had it. So because those two are the ones that are coming to my head, I'm almost instinctively wanting to go with Connecticut, just because I'm a bit of a contrarian, as it were. So I think I'm going to go, because it seems like an odd outlier to be in there, especially, as late as 1929. So I'll go with Connecticut, 1929. They introduced it, just prior to the Wall Street crash, maybe. Let's have a look. It was Connecticut. Interesting. So the correct answer is Connecticut, 1929. This was Milford, Connecticut. The traditional Connecticut lobster roll is served hot, while the lobster roll popularized up and down the eastern seaboard is served cold and was first called a lobster roll salad. A lobster salad roll. So you learn something new every day. I suspect that's going to happen a lot throughout this quiz. I will say that while I do know quite a bit about American history and geography and things like that, my food knowledge is kind of subpar, and really this quiz is kind of just interesting to do from the point of view of learning new stuff. That was a pure guess, so I wouldn't hail me a genius just yet. So let's move on to the next question. Number 2, true or false? Oh goodness, how do you pronounce this? Tell me in the comments below. I am going to butcher this. I'm seeing this for the first time. The cioppino is an Italian-American fish stew that originated in San Francisco and comes loaded with dunginess. That sounds like poo. Anyway, Dungeness. I bet it's Dungeness crab, clams, shrimp, mussels, and other shellfish. So did that originate in San Francisco? There is an Italian-American presence in San Francisco, as I recall, and of course, it is by the coast, so it would make sense, I think, for a lot of those to be put into this cioppino. It sounds authentic to me. I think instinctively I'm going to go with true on that. It is, and that's apparently what it looks like. Very nice. I wouldn't mind one of those myself, and it's considered San Francisco's signature dish. It was created by Italian fishermen, or an Italian fisherman from Genoa. Cioppino is just one example of California's seafood scene, which also includes the invention of the California roll, which is a take on Japanese sushi, using, I can't read today, it's this hat. I'm so free that I'm free to be illiterate. Using locally grown avocado and freshly caught tuna. That sounds exquisite. Okay, next we got here. Which brand of chips was invented at Disneyland? And the options we have are Fritos, Doritos, or Tostitos. I have to confess, I do not know the answer to this. I know all of those chips. I've heard of all of them. Let's see. Fritos. I mean, they all sound like they are historically Spanish words. But beyond that, I wouldn't have a clue. I think I just have to guess here. Tostitos, Fritos, or Doritos. I bet a number of you are probably screaming the answer at me right now. But this is just something that I've never learned, having never grown up in America or indeed Disneyland. I think most of us didn't, unless your name is Mouse. We'll go with Fritos. Oh, it wasn't. What was it? It was Doritos. Oh, goodness, I didn't know that. In 1964... unused tortillas were kept up and fried with seasoning added at Casa de Fritos, a restaurant in Disneyland's Frontierland. Frito-Lay, that's the company, isn't it, that makes chips, immediately noticed the demand, and Doritos were released nationwide in 1966. Interesting. Did not know that. Okay, on to the next one. Out of these, who is a real person? Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker? So I know for a fact that Betty Crocker is fictional. I actually don't know who Duncan Hines is. That probably says more about me and my lack of culinary skills than it does about anything else. But I'm going to have to say Duncan Hines, though, because, well, what was that? Of course they were both real people. That's not true. Betty Crocker was fictional. So I think Duncan Hines, whoever you are the real person here. And indeed it was. And now I'm going to feel stupid. I bet he was a very important person. The answer is Duncan Hines. Betty Crocker was a brand name dreamed up by General Mills to give a personalized response to consumer questions. Betty was chosen as a sort of cheery, all-American name, and Crocker in honor of William Crocker, a retired company executive. Duncan Hines, who lived from 1880 to 1959, was born in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I've been not far from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Actually, as I recall, it's not too far from Hopkinsville, which is where I saw the eclipse in 2017. Wow, okay. But anyway, he was born there and was a traveling salesman turned restaurant critic. It wasn't until 1952 that he licensed his name to sell baked goods like bread and cake mixes. Well, Mr. Hines, I'll be looking out for your name, not to be confused, of course, with Heinz Baked Beans, different name and different spelling and company. Okay, on to the next one. This is fun, this. Which New York town invented potato chips after a picky customer sent back his fries because they were too thick and bland? Interesting. So what have we got here? So we've got Saratoga Springs, New York, East Hampton, New York, or New York, New York. And I think as with the very first question that we did in this, I'd almost want to eliminate New York, New York, because it just sounds too obvious, doesn't it? But that doesn't mean it couldn't be the answer here, I suppose. I don't know. I'm looking at East Hampton because, well, you can get the word eat out of East. I'm sure they weren't thinking of that when they invented the crisp, the potato chip. And it's got the word ham in it. You can have ham-flavored crisps. So, that's my illogical way of trying to, break these down. I'm going to go with East Hampton, New York. It's a stupid way of doing this. It wasn't. It was Saratoga Springs. Okay, so Chef George Crumb invented potato chips in Saratoga Springs, New York in 1853. He wanted to spite the patron for repeatedly returning his fries and sliced a new batch of potatoes as thinly as possible and fried them to a crisp. He was such a troll. Lo and behold, the chips were a huge success. Well, they've done all right. I mean, well done, Mr. Crumb. You did something there that lasted over 150 years. That's more than I can say for myself. Although the smell that I left in the bathroom earlier on because of said chips might rival that. I'm just joking with you. Let's move on to the very next question. This is question 6 out of 14. When and where was the banana split invented? A nice picture there of a banana split. Was it Hawaii in 1917? Could be. Texas, 1911. Or was it Pennsylvania in 1904? Pennsylvania is quite well known for some food creations. But then so is Hawaii. So is Texas. I mean, they're all answers here that could, potentially be used. But, when I think of bananas, I mean, you could think of the islands, couldn't you? You could think of Hawaii, I suppose. I don't know. I want to say Hawaii. I want to say Hawaii 1917. Okay, so it doesn't suggest that the place itself had to have been a state at the time, but technically Hawaii was not a state in 1917, so it wouldn't technically have been a United States food item. I know it's obviously gone on to become that. Do I want to rule it out because of that? Not really, but part of me wants to, just for the purposes of this quiz. So I'm going to go with Pennsylvania. Like I said, Pennsylvania does have this history of its own unique food items. So Pennsylvania, we're locking it in. It is Pennsylvania. Look at that. So not only was it Pennsylvania 1904, but in Latrobe, or is that Latrobe? Latrobe? Let me know in the comments below how I pronounce that name. In Pennsylvania in 1904, it was invented by David Evans Strickler, an apprentice at Tassel Pharmacy. The decadent sundae involves a banana split in half, chocolate ice cream with strawberry topping, vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce, and strawberry ice cream with pineapple topping. It is then garnished with crushed nuts, whipped cream, and maraschino cherries. I don't know why I just read out the ingredients to the banana split, but that's how it came about. Okay, moving on to the next question, which I believe is question number 7. We're halfway through then with this one. What and when was the first cookbook published in America? America's had some famous cookbooks that I've become privy to, though I haven't used. So we have the following. We have American Cookery, 1796. We have Family Recipes, 1786. Or Freedom Food, 1800. The last one there does sound a little jovial, touching on that notion of freedom fries, for example, that came about in the early 2000s due to that politician being flustered with France and French fries, but of course not connected to that in any way. I suspect that's not the answer. Family Recipes or American Cookery are the likely candidates here. I have to say I can't remember this. I have read about early cookery and cookery books, and I follow John Townsend. If any of you are familiar with his YouTube channel, I'm sure he probably references this book more than once on his channel, but it escapes me at this point. For me, the obvious answer seems to be American Cookery, 1796, so I think I'm going to lock that in as my final answer, or do I phone a friend? It's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I'm not going to win any money for this, so we're going to go with that. American Cookery, 1796. It was indeed American Cookery. It was by Amelia Simmons. Was the first known cookbook written by an American, published in Hartford, Connecticut in 1796. Until then, the cookbooks printed and used in the 13 colonies were British. Its full title is American Cookery, or the Art of Dressing Viands, Fish, Poultry, and Vegetables, and the best modes of making. Is this the whole title? Are we still going? Making pastes, puffs, pies, tarts, puddings, custards, and preserves, and all kinds of cakes, from the imperial plum cake, plain cake. That is unbelievably difficult to say. Anyway, adapted to this country in all grades of life. Oh, that's still that's part of the title as well. Oh well. This book was quite popular and was printed, reprinted, and pirated for 30 years after its first appearance. Only 4 copies of the first edition are known to exist. I will own one of those copies. Can't wait. Going to be exciting. Probably expensive at this point. Okay, and question 8. Where and when was the chocolate chip cookie invented? It was a magical place wherever it was. A very magical place. Was it Oregon in 1940s? Was it Massachusetts in the 1930s? Or Iowa in the 1920s? Well, firstly, I'm shocked that it's such a recent invention. I don't know why. I just thought it might have been from the 19th century. So let's see what we've got here. Oregon 1940s, Massachusetts 1930s, and Iowa 1920s. You got the 2 coastal states there, of course, which seem more like the obvious choices. Not to be elitist or anything, but it always seems like a lot of the things do happen on the coast and then they go around the world. So I almost want to say Iowa. I'm quite partial to the state of Iowa, having never been, but I do have some good subscribers from there, and I've always wanted to go, and I will soon. I'm going to go with Iowa, even if it's not Iowa. I bloody love chocolate chip cookies, and I will remember this answer for the rest of my life. So Iowa, 1920s, we're locking it in. It wasn't. It was Massachusetts in 1930. Ruth Wakefield invented chocolate chip cookies at the Toll House Inn in Whitman, Massachusetts in the 1930s. Ruth was out of baker's chocolate, so substituted with a semi-sweet chocolate bar given to her by Andrew Nestle. Interesting, thinking it would do the trick. To her surprise, the chocolate didn't melt, but softened, and the chocolate chip cookie was born. Okay, next question. We are down to the final few, down to the final five. True or false? Cabrito is a Texas delicacy consisting of a roasted goat cooked over the barbecue for 3 to 4 hours. Well, barbecue, I think in that part of the world is quite popular. Cabrito, which sounds like, again, it comes from Spanish, and there is quite a Spanish population in Texas. So this is painting quite a credible picture at this moment. A roasted goat. I'm thinking of Jurassic Park, not set in Texas. I'm going to go with true. Let's do it. Let's lock that one in. It is true. I used that sort of, process of elimination and got there in the end. So Texas is famed for its amazing barbecue, from beef brisket to the slow-cooked cabrito. So culturally ingrained is barbecue that each region, or sometimes each town, has its own unique style. The use of different woods and cooking techniques create a huge diversity of favors. I think that's supposed to say flavors. Okay, number 10. Which president brought mac and cheese to America? Interesting. I bet this can't be right. Thomas Jefferson, I think, did have a hand in some foods taking off over here. John Adams or Millard Fillmore. Millard Fillmore, you are the Connecticut of this particular group of answers, but I don't think you are the correct answer. You could be. But I think it might be Thomas Jefferson. But you know what? The last time I instinctively went for Thomas Jefferson in a quiz, it turned out not to be him. So in fact, I'm going to go with John Adams. That's a ridiculous thing to do. It was Thomas Jefferson. I hate you, Thomas Jefferson. I'm kidding. I mean, you are very much revered in this house, but I cannot believe you keep doing this to me in these quizzes. You're doing it on purpose. Anyway, the American president, Thomas Jefferson, encountered macaroni both in Paris and in northern Italy. This makes sense, of course. Spent quite a lot of time in those countries. He drew a sketch of the pasta and wrote detailed notes on the extrusion process. In 1793, he commissioned American ambassador to Paris, William Short, to purchase a machine for making it. Evidently, the machine was not suitable, as Jefferson later imported both macaroni and Parmesan cheese for his use at Monticello. In 1802, Jefferson served a pie called macaroni. This is actually now starting to ring a bell, and I really should have got this right. At a state dinner, the menu of the dinner was reported by Reverend Manasseh Cutler, who apparently was not fond of the cheesy macaroni dish. I don't blame him. I'm not a biggest fan either. I just admitted that, didn't I, on live television. Again, it's not live, although it's not going to be very edited. Nevertheless, since that time, baked macaroni and cheese has remained popular in the United States. It sure has. Okay, and on to the next question. We have just the 4 remaining. I think I did math wrong earlier, didn't I, when I said 5 remaining? Technically 6. Anyway, now it's 4. What cut of meat would one use for country fried steak? Surely it's... Oh, okay, so what have we got? We've got T-bone steak, cube steak, or ribeye steak. Goodness me, I don't know. I feel like I've had it, though. I feel like I've had country fried steak, and I do not for the life of me remember which kind of cut. I don't think it was T-bone. I'm going to say possibly ribeye. I don't know why. I just think it is. And it's cube. And I knew that, and I was messing with you. No, I didn't know it. Chicken fried steak, also known as country fried steak, is an American breaded cutlet dish consisting of a piece of steak, tenderized cube steak. I've got to remember that. Coated with seasoned flour and pan-fried. It is associated with the southern cuisine of the United States. Well, that is good to know, and I will definitely keep that in mind as I move forward. And on to the next question here. Number 12. Where was the conical-shaped ice cream cone first invented? Interesting question. Was it St. Louis? Was it Dallas? Or was it Chicago? Ooh, so I live in Chicago, obviously. I've never heard of it originating here. But then again, I don't read about ice cream very often. I definitely consume it, as I did today, but I don't read about it very often. So I'm not really that knowledgeable on this subject. I've been to St. Louis, and I did look up some of their kind of food mainstays while I was there, but I don't really remember, again, the ice cream cone being a thing. So the only thing I can really do here is go with Dallas, and it just doesn't seem like a very Dallas thing to do. I don't know why. but I'm going to do it anyway. And then when it turns out to be Chicago, I'm going to get ripped to pieces in the comments. You're going to kill me. So I've already said that in advance, just to preface everything. So I'm going to go with Dallas. I don't know why. Let's do it. Dallas. Thank goodness it was St. Louis. I'm a little bit relieved at that it wasn't Chicago. But I don't remember hearing about this when we visited. So the first true edible conical shaped cone for serving ice cream was created at the St. Louis World's Fair by Ernest Hamwee. That's not Ernest Hemingway. Similar. In 1904, his waffle booth was next to an ice cream vendor who ran short of dishes. Hamwee rolled a waffle to contain ice cream and the cone was born. Please tell me in the comments below if I'm mispronouncing his last name. I probably am, but it is hilarious the way I'm saying it. So let's move on to the penultimate question here. And that is, what city is credited with inventing the cream pie? And you see a lovely cream pie right there. Let's see what we got here then. Boston, New Jersey, or Philadelphia? That's a tough one. You know what, though? There is Philadelphia cream spread, isn't there? So maybe there's quite a history of just sort of creameries in and around the Philly area that are unconnected to each other in these two cases. But so that's sort of what I might go with. It's just, again, a stab in the dark. I have no idea where this was invented. Could it have been Boston? Could it have been New Jersey? I'm going to go with Philadelphia. I think, go with your first instinct on all of these, which I failed to do. Hello, Thomas Jefferson. Okay, so Philadelphia is what I'm doing. It is Boston. I can't believe it. Owners of the Parker House Hotel in Boston state that the cream pie was first created at the hotel by Armenian French chef M. Sanzian in 1856. The cake he created, called Parker House Chocolate Cream Pie, consisted of 2 layers of French butter sponge cake filled with cream patisserie and brushed with a rum syrup. It's side coated with I've just read that. It's side-coated with creme patisserie. I'm probably mispronouncing that. My French is awful. Thomas Jefferson's was better. Overlain with toasted sliced almonds and the top coated with chocolate fondant. How about that? So now we know a little bit more about that. And on to the final question here today. True or false? Oh, look at this. I'm seeing the word Chicago style and I'm panicking. Chicago style hot dog is a hot dog consisting of ketchup, mustard, gherkins, and fresh veg, including tomatoes and salad. Weirdly, somebody recently dared me to give my verdict on the Chicago style hot dog. I've not actually had one before, so I can't think what it looks like, but does it have all of those things? I'm thinking it does, right? I'm thinking it does. Yeah, I mean, I think it is loaded, I think, with quite a lot of things. I'm going to go with yes on that. I'm going to get absolutely destroyed. Don't kill me. Let's just, after this, clean slate, start again. Lawrence doesn't know his food. He puts it in his mouth, doesn't really look at it, and he consumes it, and it tastes good. I didn't really clock what was in it. And I haven't had one, so this doesn't help. I'm going to go with true. It's false. What did I get wrong? Chicago might be famed for its deep dish style pizza. Is it? I've never had one. I had one the other day. You saw it. I'll link to it at the end of this video. But equally ingrained in the city culture is the legendary Chicago style hot dog, which I still haven't had. While this tasty dish always involves gherkins, mustard, fresh salad, and tomatoes, asking for ketchup is a huge faux pas. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I know that now. I'm glad I took this quiz, because when I ask for one, I won't make that mistake. You won't find it on any traditional Chicago-style dogs. How about that? That is insane. Okay, so show me my results. I don't think I did terribly well. Let's have a look. Where's my results? Sign up for our quiz of the day. I don't want your quiz of the day. No emails, just show me the results. Yep. I got 6 out of 14. That is absolutely woeful. So it says, based on the results of this quiz, you are a food lover Alright, so you might not know American food history as well as some, but you do know how to enjoy yourself and take in a good meal. How did it get that from the quiz? I mean, it's true. It's like the computer knows me, but there's no way it could know that from these questions and my answers to them, which were, for the most part, just guesses. So you're lying to me. Anyway, you focus more on how food tastes rather than where it comes from. Yeah, I do. Well, thank you for watching this episode of Lost in the Pond, and it's quizzes like this where the name Lost in the Pond comes from. Those things that I lost in the pond moving from England to here and didn't yet translate over. This is something I'm glad I looked up. I'm glad I know a bit more history about American food and also the geography of American food and in some cases the ingredients thereof. And so it's time for me to go out now and get a good old Chicago-style hot dog. See you soon. Bye. Thank you for watching this episode of Lost in the Pond. Don't forget to hit my stupid little face to subscribe, and please share this video with the world. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and if you would like to support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond.